Virginia is a short, sweet, first-person mystery game released in 2016 and is a surprisingly refreshing, if not mind-blowing take on the walking sim genre. It was created as one of the first projects by a developer called Variable State and was directed by Jonathan Burrows and Terry Kenny, with notable contributions from composer Lyndon Holland, who also helped Burrows and Kenny write the game. Despite a short runtime and modest presentation, Virginia doesn't feel insubstantial, and thanks to a series of distinct creative choices, carves a unique identity for itself amongst walking sims. Virginia takes place in 1992 and tasks the player with control of rookie FBI agent Ann Tarver, who is taking on her first case with a reclusive partner. The pair are sent to investigate the disappearance of a young boy in the fictional town of Kingdom in Virginia. From here, the game unfolds over the course of a week, during which the player is treated to revelations regarding the main characters, the case, the FBI, and much more. While there are a large variety of smaller stylistic decisions to be found in Virginia, like the blocky character models, a somewhat indulgent intro sequence, and the subtle beauty of the world, by far the most important elements of the game to discuss are a couple of significant and far-reaching design choices that strongly shape Virginia and are crucial to tackle in order to accurately convey the nature of the game. The first of these is that while the game, much like other walking sims, uses extremely simple interactions as the core of its gameplay, Virginia chooses to massively limit the scope and size of its levels and environments, and in doing so, massively limit the things that populate them. To advance the story, the player interacts with objects in the environment, like examining documents or opening doors to move from area to area. Apart from this, however, there is deliberately very little to discover and very few places to go to search for them. This may sound odd, because exploring environments to find clues or make discoveries is perhaps considered central to the nature of these types of games. By far the largest knock-on effect of this, however, is how it greatly reduces the player's inclination towards exploration. The easiest way for me to put all this is that Virginia becomes the corridor shooter of walking sims. This is not meant to be insulting, and I actually found this quite refreshing. There is no perceived burden that you must discover secrets to cast more light on what's happening, and no sense that you're missing something if you're not thorough. The game virtually eliminates skulking in corners or shadows to find notes or lore dumps, leaving you instead with a brisk pace forward. And this directness and lack of meandering is central to the game's identity. The second major factor is that Virginia includes absolutely no dialogue. As usual with games like this, such decisions are likely budget dictated, but it is nonetheless quite a bold choice, because it means the story must be conveyed mostly through inference, gesture, or crescendo. Moreover, Virginia also deploys a lot of quicker scene transitions that stand out in the land of walking sims, who tend to follow the player in a very steady or consistent manner. The game's snapshot structure that moves from place to place like this is used as another way of conveying story without dialogue, and reinforces moments of revelation. So when something new is unearthed, the game cuts to the next natural course of action. Now the player is armed with a new discovery, almost like a memory where all the unnecessary information has been discarded. The effect of all this is that these elements can be combined to generate a strong sense of narrative momentum. The audio and music design also steps in to bolster this momentum or reinforce moments of tension, and in theory can be tailored well to such a linear game where you can clearly see that some door or object lies waiting for you ahead, and the music can swell in anticipation as you approach. These elements produce the game's strongest moments, especially when used to convey a sense of conviction or determination at certain points of the story's climax, and stand out to me as the game's most emotionally resonant. To be more critical, however, it's not clear to me that these large design choices achieve much more that is remarkable, and I don't think I can say the substance of the game is truly that interesting. The elements of mystery and the outcome of the case take somewhat of a backseat to Anne Tarver's own story, which, while well conveyed in the areas I've mentioned, does not necessarily stray into any particularly wild, fascinating, or engaging areas, either in terms of plot intricacy or thematic potency. Institutional corruption, small-town drama, and hints of extraterrestrial influence are part and parcel of typical American mystery. For this reason, I think the game itself and how it decides to structure itself are more interesting and worth playing to see how the game is constructed, rather than the narrative on offer. And I do think players will appreciate how the game manages to achieve what it does as they're playing. Strangely, what I think these elements contribute the most to Virginia is to increase the playability of the game and maintain a decent degree of player engagement when combined with the game's more interesting stylistic elements, like the rather beautiful landscapes and the nicely thought out map on the pause screen. Altogether then, I consider Virginia's directness, minimal time investment, and ability to act as a sort of curiosity in design terms to make it a simple but decent recommendation for anyone looking for a game in this niche genre if they can keep their expectations in check.